All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back
Hello.
to another Ubuntu Engineering Live. This is our first one in 2 weeks since we've gone to an every 2 week schedule, so we should have some really good updates for you. With me today, I've got Alan, Bill Filler, George Castro, and Michael Savic. To kick things off, we're going to start with Bill, but first, I just want to remind everyone that we're on the #Ubuntu-on-air IRC channel on Freenode IRC, or you can go to ubuntuonair.com and there should be an embedded IRC window right below the video. You can ask your questions there anytime. Start them with the word question in all caps, and I'll get a nice highlight to help me keep track of who's asking what. And when people are done giving us their update, we'll go back through and answer any questions that you have. So ask them at any time, and we'll get to them. All right, Bill, take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'll give you a quick update of what we've been working on the last few weeks. One big theme is we're implementing some new designs that our design team has come up with for the dialer, messaging app, address book, and the browser. And that these changes involve, as has been publicized in the past, new bottom edge gestures and the new header component, which is part of the SDK now. So yeah, we're in process of kind of prototyping the new designs and trying to get them all implemented. And it's going really well. So hopefully within the next week or two, we should have at least kind of initial versions that we'll be able to push that people can try out. But it's pretty cool using the new bottom edge gestures. Let's see, on the address book side, as part of the new design and just features that we've added there. So we're working on searching, which is something that's been lacking in the current address book. So now the search capability will be built right into the header. So it'll work similar to how the dash search works, where you can press a search button and then start typing right in the header. So we have that implemented for address book, and we're also working on fast scrolling of the being able to jump to a particular place in the list of contacts, and auto formatting of phone numbers. So those are a couple features that we're lacking right now that are pretty important. Okay, on the browser and the Content Hub side, so all the download manager stuff has landed last week. So now we can move ahead with the download support in the browser itself. We have that work has basically been completed, and we're in the process of trying to get that landed. So when that lands, you'll be able to, for instance, right-click on an image in the browser and say save or download, and be able to save that to any app that participates in the Content Hub who's registered for that type of content. So for example, the gallery. So you'll be able to save the photo to the gallery. So that should be landing within the next few days, hopefully. What else? On the OSK, we've landed some really good fixes. A big fix for the spell check performance. So now with spell checking enabled, you don't notice any performance hits as you type. And we've also turned on the haptic feedback by default to give you, to make it a little bit easier to sense when you're typing. So those are good fixes. And then so we've also been working on making the touch apps work better on the desktop. And one of those apps is the camera app, and so we're currently fighting a bug where we're trying to get video recording working on the camera app on the desktop. Video recording still not enabled on the device, but that's work will land this cycle that the Foundations team's working on. But on the desktop, it's a different path. So yeah, we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have a fix for that soon. All right, I think that's those are the highlights from my team.
All right, thanks, Bill. If anyone has questions for Bill, you can ask them in the IRC channel. Again, just start them with the word question in all caps so I can keep track of them. We've had Lucas join us, who is taking over from Didrox as our I guess release manager is the correct title there for you. Managing the release process for the Ubuntu device images that'll be coming out. So the regular emails that Didrox have been sending out every time there was some new builds made and images promoted, you'll now be getting those from Lucas. So Lucas, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, since we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and move on to Michael to give us an update on what's going on with Unity 8.
Where's the mute button? Sorry. Hi guys. Yeah, so start with a large update. We reworked the scopes UI to make it much better performance-wise. So that landed in an image yesterday. So as long as you have updated your phone, your scope should scroll vertically much quicker. The split gritter is closer than ever. We're actually in the process of reviewing branches right now. So after that's going to happen, we will actually have proper separation between user sessions, and that will lead us to actually allow multiple users at some point. We'll probably won't expose UI for it on the phone, but I assume that people might want to hack it in or something. So it will be at least possible and working properly. And the other big topic that we're working towards that will help us progress a lot quicker is Qt-based composition. So basically, it's Qt that's going to composite different apps and surfaces together, as opposed to the internal mirror composition, which basically gives us much more control inside QML from the shell. And that will allow us to finally implement shell rotation and improve performance. Like we will stop using screenshots of apps in like the spread and whenever transitioning, and we'll actually be using live surfaces as well. Next topic, trusted sessions. So we're working to actually improve the user experience of, for example, what Bill was talking about, so downloading from the browser and saving to the gallery, or the other way around. Stuff like that, which we call the content exchange, will include, so to provide nice user experience around it, we actually need to bind surfaces from different components together, and that's what the trusted sessions is about. The notifications gained modality, so you are required to take an action on incoming call, for example. You can interact with the dash or any app that's back there. We are in the process of landing sound feedback to notifications, so stuff like text messages. The actual SMS backend won't have to use the just by the sound itself, but it will be able to associate the sound with the notification itself and let the shell play it. We also dropped Qt 5.1 compatibility, so that we can actually use new APIs in the shell that were introduced by Qt 5.2. We removed the HUD from the bottom edge, so you will soon see, for example, from, again, Bill's team, you will soon see new improvements in the bottom edge for apps that want to use it. And you as in developers, are now free to use the bottom edge for your app. We did a lot of code and test cleanups last week, and some of that will follow still. And we started working on departments and scopes, so you will see soon an addition to the UI in the scopes that will let you limit the results that you see by different criteria, whatever the scope author will deem correct. And that's it from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody has any questions on Unity 8? You can go ahead and ask them now. You did forget one big new feature, at least big for me, and that's the ratings and reviews has landed in the app scope.
Indeed, that's probably because it's not me, but it's Thomas. So the support for it was there for a long time in the shell. But yes, indeed, it was implemented in the backend, and that's there now.
All right. So if anybody's got a Ubuntu device with the latest release, if you go to the app preview, you'll now have, let's see if you can see that, down at the bottom, the ability to leave some feedback on the app and give it a star rating. And then we'll be able to start allowing users to filter or sort the apps that are displayed based on that. All right, we had a couple of questions come in. B. Nugent asks, how would I become an Ubuntu developer? I'm very interested, specifically the Ubuntu phone project. So there's a lot of ways you can get involved developing for Ubuntu. You can either work on Ubuntu itself, you can work on one of the layers on top of the core, such as Unity, either Unity 7 for the desktop or Unity 8 for the phone, and in the future for the desktop as well. I'd suggest you join #Ubuntu-devel. Go ahead and put that in here in the IRC. That's where all of the Ubuntu developers hang out, and they can help you get started in various ways you can work on the platform itself. If you're interested in writing apps, however, we have a separate channel for that, which is Ubuntu-app-devel, which is where all of us app developers and those who support app developers hang out. So we can give you some help there. We've also got developer.ubuntu.com for app developers as well. All right, next question, the one we get fairly regularly. Guest 22982 asks, how is Mir superior to Wayland for the Ubuntu project? And the Mir guys that we usually have on, Thomas Voss and Kevin Gunn, are not available this week. So I'll give you the non-technical answer for that, which is that Mir is just a compositor, and if we went with Wayland, we would have had to write a compositor also, because that's what you're supposed to do with Wayland, since it is just a protocol. So we ended up writing our own compositor, which we'd have to do either way, and we just decided to do it without the Wayland protocol. That's really the non-technical difference to it, and that gives us a little more flexibility in how we build the compositor itself. All right. So we'll move on now to Alan Pope, who says he's got quite a few updates for us today.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'll try and keep it a little bit trim because it's 2 weeks worth and there's a lot. So one of the things we've been working hard on in Core Apps is to merge any outstanding requests. We want to increase the velocity of landing fixes in the Core Apps. And I've talked about that in the past in terms of once stuff is landed, we're automating to get the apps into the store and then onto people's devices. But with this, I'm talking about actually getting the merges landed in trunk. And we've had a few merge requests which have been hanging around for a while. We've been having conversations on the merge requests, and we've been working hard over the last couple of weeks to increase the speed at which the things actually land in trunk. That's, it's a bit difficult sometimes because for the Core Apps, the majority of the developers are working in their own time. And so, they're kind enough to volunteer their time to work on these things. So it's been a little bit difficult. We've had a lot of help from a lot of different people, and we've reduced down the number of outstanding merge requests, and we want to try and keep on top of it so we don't get a backlog of merges, and everyone gets to see the great new stuff people are developing. One of the things we changed was we bumped the framework version for Core Apps from the framework we were using, which was 13.10, to the 14.04 framework. That means that from now on, any updates that land in the store won't work on the 13.10 images, which we kind of think nobody's using anyway. So that shouldn't have an impact on anyone, only if you happen to be running the Ubuntu 13.10 sourcey image on your device. So that's probably nobody. Soon we'll have to bump the framework again to 14.10 when we start taking advantage of changed functionality in 14.10, and at that point probably 14.04 users on phone and tablet won't get updates to the Core Apps. We're still deciding when that's likely to be. We've got a sprint next week and it'll probably be decided then. in terms of getting involved, it would be really appreciated if any of you have some time. I saw someone asking in the IRC channel about getting involved in Ubuntu development. We do have bugs in the core apps, and we've got features that need implementing and outstanding merge requests for review. And as always, we welcome contributors to core apps. Either join, as Mike said, ubuntu-app-devel, or drop me an email, poppy@ubuntu.com, and I'll point you in the right direction. We can get people bootstrapped quickly and find fun things to hack on. So some specific changes. The Reminders app, developers Michael and Ricardo have been implementing the new designs from Lucas. So Lucas, one of our community designers, has redesigned the Reminders app, and that's been implemented over the last couple of weeks. So if you install Reminders from the store on your Ubuntu device, you'll get a new, fresh look and feel. There's also a lot of fixes to deal with error conditions. We've had, because it's an inherently networked application in that it synchronizes notes with an online website, Evernote, it has to be able to deal with poor network situations which can happen on mobile devices, you know, when you're out of 3G coverage or the Wi-Fi drops off or whatever. And so we've been adding some code in to deal with those kind of network issues. Loads of bugs fixed in Reminders. I won't go through all of them because there's loads in the last couple of weeks. I'll move on to the Music app. Music app developers have been working on migrating music from our old Media Scanner to a new Media Scanner 2 framework. They've been working with the Canonical developers to test that and make sure that everything in the Music app works with the new Media Scanner and new Media Hub. There's been some UI changes to Music app, taking advantage of the new header bar that Mikhail was talking about just now. So if you're using the Music app on a fairly recent build of Ubuntu phone, you'll notice that the toolbar at the top has changed, and you get a little hamburger icon at the top, which you can then choose which tab you want to switch to: artists, albums, now playing, and so on. I think that's probably the first app actually that's landed with support for the new toolbar actually, which is pretty good going. Loads of bug fixes in Music. Oh yeah, Mike's showing it now. So yeah, you can see the little hamburger icon in the corner of the screen bar that Mike's showing, and yes, revealing a little bug there. But yeah, there's the list of tabs. Rather than swiping, which was a little bit unintuitive, you can now hit the little button to switch tabs. It's really good. Moving on to Calendar, we've got some outstanding merge requests. Oh, Mikhail says that bug is fixed now, so yay. We've got some outstanding merge requests still on Calendar. These have been a bit problematic because they're uncovering problems in the platform, mostly related to synchronizing events. So for a while now, you've been able to connect your Ubuntu phone to a Google account and synchronize your contacts and your calendar items, your events, into the Calendar app on the phone. And this has uncovered some bugs, both in the calendar itself and also in the underlying evolution bits and the cute bits that make all of that work. So we've been working out some of those, and we're still working on those. We've also got a couple of new features that should be landing soon. One is the agenda view, which is hopefully, as I say, landing soon. It's still being worked on, but the idea is it just shows you a list of all your upcoming events rather than scrolling through each day. It just shows you, ordered by date, the upcoming events in your calendar, which is quite a useful view that most calendar apps have. Looking for updates elsewhere. We had some work done on the Terminal app. Not a lot has happened in the Terminal app recently. It's been, it works. But if anyone would like to contribute to the Terminal app, maybe adding tabs or other features that you think you could do with, then do let me know, because we haven't done a lot of work on Terminal recently. RSS Reader, some improvements have been made by Carla and Leo in the QA side of things with RSS Reader to make sure the tests pass reliably. Also, in the file manager, Carlos and Arto have been working hard to land some of their work in file manager. That should be coming soon. And I think that's about it. Oh, and the most important fix is dropping letters. We've re-enabled sound effects for dropping letters.
Very important fix.
Yeah, exactly. Games are the most top of the list.
All right. Do you have any questions for Alan about the core apps? Go ahead and ask them now. We had one question come in. It's kind of technical. One Tempe, who has a Dell Optiplex 740, is wondering if there's an update to his video driver that has made his computer perform better. It's entirely possible. It's really hard to answer that kind of technical question without actually being able to have access to your computer and see what's going on.
We generally recommend for technical support people go to #Ubuntu on IRC or askubuntu.com for technical support.
Yep. Let me just type those in. So #Ubuntu for tech support and askubuntu.com also. Guest 22982 asked, does Canonical have any software developer jobs available in London? So if you go to our website, canonical.com/careers, I think it is, you'll be able to see a list of all of our current open positions. Most of them are going to be work from home. A lot of them will give a specific, we list continents, but it's really more time zone that's important. There are some in-office jobs in London. I don't know how many of them are for developers. I know all of our design team is in the office in London. Our web design team is in the office in London, and some others. But developer jobs, I think mostly we're all work from home. But go to that website, fill out, and submit your resume to whatever you think you might be a good match for. All right. George, it's your turn. We've got some big updates on the cloud side today.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna try to be as fast as possible because we announced so much stuff yesterday.
So don't worry about it.
Oh, because we announced so much stuff yesterday. I don't even know what to do here. So yesterday was or this week rather, is the OpenStack conference in Atlanta, and since Ubuntu Cloud and servers very much dependent on OpenStack, it's like our primary thing that Ubuntu Server does. There were a lot of announcements that Mark made during his keynote. I'm going to stick the keynote address, which is available on YouTube in the IRC channel, so that people can watch it on their own. And then I'm going to go ahead and summarize that a little bit, because there were a lot of announcements that were made, and some I didn't even know were being announced, and it's all awesome and great. However, before I get to that, 2 weeks ago we were in Las Vegas as part of IBM's Impact Show, where we debuted Ubuntu for Power 8. So if you're not familiar with Power Systems, Power 8 is the latest chip from IBM, and they also launched what they're calling Open Power, which is a consortium of people that are building Power 8 systems. So I was able to see, like, Google made a dual socket power board that's very interesting. These are very high thread count, very fast machines. I think the one I have access to in the lab, they start off running at like 4 gigahertz. So these are called Power 8. If you go to releases.ubuntu.com, there's a Power ISO, just like you would on x86, and you can install Ubuntu on Power 8. And everything in the archive is available, so you can apt-get install whatever you want. Unless you do a uname or something like that, it behaves just like an x86 box, and we'll be working with partners to get all that good software running on Power 8. So that was announced 2 weeks ago, and we launched from scratch. We did a Hadoop deployment in 173 seconds. That's seconds, not days. So I am pretty much convinced that's one of the fastest Hadoop deployments ever. So until I meet someone that tells me otherwise, that's what I'm going with. So very exciting stuff that we're working on IBM there. So yesterday, Mark Shuttleworth did his keynote at the Atlanta OpenStack Developer Summit, and he announced a ton of things. And I put that video in the IRC, and I'm just going to give you the the kind of TLDR summary of all this. So the first is the OpenStack Interoperability Lab with OIL. This isn't new. This has been around. I'm sticking this URL in the channel as well. But this is so OpenStack is kind of like a operating system for your data center. So it has lots of moving pieces, network bits, compute nodes, storage, or whatever. The problem that people have is each one of those components has different options, right? So you can pick different components for networking, or even your hypervisor. Maybe you don't want KVM. Maybe you want Zen or something. So what we do is we made a lab that takes all of the components of OpenStack and then puts them together in a different permutations, deploys it, and then tests a whole bunch of stuff, and then tears it all down and then tries a different permutation. So over and over again, we're building different combinations of OpenStack clouds. And this is important, especially for server people, right? You know, maybe you want to use VMware's section because your company might be paying for that or something like that. So it's important for people to be able to mix and match. So we partnered with Dell, EMC, Fusion.io, HP, IBM, Inktank, Intel, Mellanox, the Open Compute Project, cMicro, VMware to kind of put together a lab that does all these different permutations. And that allows anybody who's using Ubuntu OpenStack to do that. Mark also showed off the Landscape Cloud installer on a cMicro 64-node cluster, where you actually can pick each one of these components in a nice little graphical GUI, and you hit deploy, and then it just deploys the whole cluster. We were able to do on a set of these 64-node clusters, we did 576 hosts with over 168,000 VMs deployed in a weekend. So it's pretty interesting stuff. So in the landscape, the cloud installer, you could choose a hypervisor, which network-defined storage you want, which object storage you want, and what block storage you want. So that's pretty cool. He also announced, this is new, I didn't know this, TH2 in China, the world's fastest supercomputer, runs on Ubuntu Chilin. That's the Chinese variant. It's spelled K-Y-L-I-N, I think, but it's pronounced Chilin. So that's pretty interesting. He also demoed the Applied Micro ARM64 rack, which is a rack of servers running ARM64. And he also talked about power. So whether you use Power, ARM64, or x86, the common thread there is that all your Ubuntu workloads run great on all of these things and take advantage of what those platforms have to offer. So you can use one, the other, both, mix them up, doesn't matter. We'll support whatever it is you run on. He also unveiled the Orange Box. I don't know if you've seen this on the internet yesterday. It is made up of 10 Intel NUCs, which are next units of computing. They're little boards like this that have like an i5 on them, and you put an SSD on them. We put 10 of them in a fanless case, and we call that the Orange Box. So there's 15 of them now at the OpenStack Summit in Atlanta. And what they basically do, it's a self-contained offline OpenStack training box, right? So it can go from zero non-deployed to a fully deployed OpenStack in about 6.5 minutes. So the reason we made these is it can become very difficult when you choose to deploy OpenStack, right? You need a certain amount of machines, and then you need to have control of your network environment, right? So if you're in a large organization, you know, you have to file tickets to get like, hey, I need this VPN over here, or this VLAN over here so I can play around with a lab. These are nice because they're self-contained, and you can just get it up and running and get your people learning OpenStack as fast as possible while you're taking care of like the real hardware and stuff, so that you're not wasting time on, you know, messing around with all the minutia of setting up a cloud when you should be really learning a cloud. So the way this works, this is a canonical service. You pay 10 grand, and then an engineer comes and delivers one to you. He gives you 2 full days of OpenStack training, and then you get to keep the box for another 2 weeks for you to learn it. You can also buy your own from Tranquil PC. They're a UK-based company that helped us design the case and everything like that. So you can just buy your own if you want. Dustin will be blogging over the next few days after the OpenStack Summit on kind of how to make your own poor man's orange box, because you can really just buy Intel NUCs, on Amazon or wherever, and just kind of put together your own little MAS OpenStack setup there with a little switch. So that's pretty cool. Another thing here announced, this is a big one, is Cloud Foundry is coming to Ubuntu over the next 6 months. This is something that is not ready yet. It's something that we're working on full time. This will be fully supported by Canonical and Pivotal. So it will be a totally supported setup on OpenStack there. Cloud Foundry, for those of you who don't know what that is PaaS. It's Platform as a Service. So it's something that's very important to a lot of companies, and you'll be able to have that very, very easily deployable. Mark's demo there showed the entire thing already deployed. So the goal there is, within the next 6 months, you'll just search for, I want Cloud Foundry, and you'll drag and drop it, and that's the experience we're going for there. Also, something he announced is IBM is going to start to bring their software to the Juju Charm Store. This is something I'll be working on specifically. So we have done demos of WebSphere and things like that in Juju. So we'll be working with IBM to get a whole bunch of things that are needed to bring their software into the Juju Charm Store. The nice benefits for the community there is that anything that IBM needs to bring their software into the Charm Store will, of course, be able to be used by everybody. So things like web servers and proxies and things like that IBM software uses, you'll be able to leverage that as well. We also announced that Juju is going to interoperate with Heat, which is the OpenStack orchestration framework. That's a feature that a lot of people have been asking for, so we're going to be working on that. And also Tosca, which is kind of like a high-level description of an orchestration language. So we're going to be supporting that for interoperability efforts so that people can do orchestration, and we can kind of help drive what orchestration is supposed to look like in the future. Because a lot of people still think it's just configuration management. But we're getting there. Another one, this was a surprise for me, a community member, they're a company, they decided to port Juju to work and MAS to work with Windows, which is really awesome. So Mark showed in the video he was deploying on Hyper-V and everything. He was deploying Active Directory and a whole bunch of stuff. So this company just showed up and they decided, hey, it'd be cool to have this on Windows. So they did the work. I do not know much about this. So over the next few weeks, we should be hearing more. As well as we have pledged to have Juju and MAS also support for CentOS. So we're very popular in the cloud, but CentOS is also very popular, and a lot of people have asked for CentOS support. So we'll see where that goes. Both of these two, both Windows and CentOS support are new, so I don't have much information on there. So I'm going to need a few weeks there to figure out what's going on and make milestones and things like that. And then the last thing that Mark mentioned is we're finally able to talk about some of the customers that are deploying Ubuntu server on OpenStack. He kind of joked, he called it Chuck Norris grade Linux. So Deutsche Telekom, NTT, China Telecom, AT&T, Time Warner Cable, Orange, Cisco, these are all very, very large companies doing very large deployments of Ubuntu server and OpenStack. So, I'm really proud that we can finally start to mention names that are people that are deploying the stuff in real life. So that makes me really happy. People are using our stuff. So that is just about all of the updates I have. We'll be continuing to hear cool things coming out of the OpenStack Summit over the course of the week. So if you have any questions about that, you can find me on #ubuntu-server or #juju on Freenode. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? Or?
Thanks, George. No questions so far for Cloud. If you have any, go ahead and ask them now. We're coming up to the end of our program, so if you want to get any questions answered before we end, now's the time to start asking them. I'm going to give a quick update on some of the things happening on the community side that are separate from the core apps that Alan already gave us an update on. Yesterday we released a new page on the developer portal. It's developer.ubuntu.com/pioneers. And this is a page to list all of our early adopters for app developers. So we're going to take the first 200 people who publish an app through our App Store for phones and tablets, and they're going to be kind of immortalized on this page along with the list of apps that they've published and their picture. So if you've already submitted an app and got it published, you should already be on this page. Check and make sure you've got a picture of yourself up there. A lot of people still don't. This is something that was added to the My Apps portal just in the last few weeks or so. So if you're on there and you don't have a picture, you can upload it to myapps.developer.ubuntu.com. Click on the My Account link at the top. If you're not on that list and you would like to be, we still have somewhere around 80 slots left before we reach our 200 developers. So there's time for you to get an app in. It doesn't take very long to write an app. You can probably do it in a long weekend of hacking. The publishing process is much, much smoother than it used to be with the old app review board and Debian packaging. So once your app is actually created and packaged, it usually only takes a couple hours if it's during the weekday. It might take over the weekend if you submit it late on a Friday and nobody's around to approve it. But get yourself on that list. We've got the Ubuntu Online Summit coming up in June. I think it's June 10th through the 12th. This is what used to be the virtual UDS. We're expanding it a little bit more to cover more than just development. We're going to get into advocacy, a little bit more presentations and tutorials and how-tos and stuff like that. So there's going to be some changes coming to that. Look for it on summit.ubuntu.com. I should hopefully have that updated by the end of this month. To go with that, we'll have some new tracks and new track leads that you'll want to get with if you want to propose a session for that. Again, that's June 10th through the 12th. And then finally, we announced, I don't know if this made it into our last update or not because it was on the same day, but we announced the winners of the App Showdown that we were running this spring. So we had 4 different categories. We had QML, HTML5, any kind of ported app, and then a specific category for the Chinese market. And the winners for that are Michael Spencer, who wrote Project Dashboard, which was the winner for the QML category. It's a wonderful looking app that will let you manage your development projects, and I've been told that there's a Launchpad plugin coming to it soon, so I'm looking forward to getting that. It currently supports GitHub, though, so that'll help a lot of people. For the HTML5 category, we had B Mobile from Jelmer Prins, which is some kind of public transport tracking, scheduling something for Belgium. So if you're in Belgium, we've got a nice app there for you that used our HTML5 developer platform. For the ported apps, we've got Victor Thompson, who's one of our core app developers. He ported the incredibly addictive 2048 app to Ubuntu. So you've got that, and now there are 2 or 3 other 2048 apps, or 2048 clones with slightly different gameplay in the App Store. For the Chinese market, we had 2 winners. We had QML Text Reader, which was developed by Boren Zhang, who's another one of our core apps developers. And then we've got Simple Dictionary by Shenjin Zhu, and I apologize, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. And that was a Chinese to English dictionary for your phone, so that's very handy to have. So those were our winners. Congratulations to you guys. And that's it for our updates. If you have any questions, go ahead and get them in now. I see we've had a few come in, so I'm going to go through those. If you don't get it in the next few minutes, though, you may miss out, so don't wait. All right, Nash asks why the Chrome uses so much RAM. Probably because you load a lot of stuff into it. I've found Chrome and the latest Firefox to both be far more memory efficient than they used to be. But if you have any bugs or anything, feel free to report it to the upstream project.
Each tab has its own processes, that's why. Every time you open a tab, you're...
Yeah. Savic asks, will apps get updated in the Pioneers list? I wish Martin Albacetti was here to answer that. They will be updated at least until we reach our 200th developer. After that, we might freeze the page entirely so that it only shows the apps that those developers had submitted up until that point. Again, Savic is asking, why can't you click on the apps to find out about them in the Pioneers list? That's because Martin's team hasn't finished the public pages for My Apps yet. That is on their list. I know that they're working on it, and we'll hopefully have that available in the next couple months or so. But yes, that is coming, and we will make those clickable so that you can get to that page and have all kinds of nice functionality there. Read the ratings and reviews, leave comments, and at some point maybe even click a button on the website to install it on one of your registered Ubuntu devices. So everything that you can do with the Google Play Store, we'll start adding that kind of functionality in there. Mr. Brownstone asks, will there be voice synthesis as a core service in Unity 8? So I guess that's like a Siri-like functionality or voice recognition for the search. Do you know?
It might actually have been about voice synthesis as an accessibility. That's the word is similar. So we want to build accessibility into it. Yes. Whether it's going to be available on the phone or in what manner it's going to be available on the phone is definitely ahead of us in terms of design to start with. But yes, we want to enable accessibility on all our devices.
All right. I know at one point there was a project to use Pocket Sphinx to try and do that all on the phone instead of sending it out to the cloud the way Google and Apple do. But I don't know.
That's voice recognition and voice synthesis. The question was about actually using your phone when you're vision impaired, which is something that you can actually do apparently. So that's as far as voice recognition. I'm sure there will be some voice recognition. How's that going to work? I can't comment right now. It's ahead of us still.
Okay. Nicholas is asking, why is Ubuntu Core App Developers part of the Pioneer list? That's because of a limitation in the My Apps portal. Because we don't have the ability to add people to groups. You can only have one account with upload rights for an app. And because of the way we're currently uploading the core apps, they're all under just the one account. So that's why that's on there. We will get core app developers listed. I think the plan was to list them in a separate section on that page and highlight the fact that they were developing core apps instead of just their own apps. All right, so that's all of the questions that we have so far. I'll give everybody just one more minute to get any final questions in, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. DK Gramming says I skipped his question. Did you start it with the word question in all caps? If you didn't, then yeah, I'm gonna miss it. If you started in all caps, it turns yellow in my IRC client, so that I can't.
The question was, will the Ubuntu hardware certification be updated for 1404?
I would assume so. I'm not part of that, and we don't have anyone on here who is, but I would assume that'll be updated now that 1404 is out. All right, that's all the questions that we have. I already lost Bill. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for our next update. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.